Hey, you guys. Well, welcome again to another broadcast. I hope you guys are doing well. It's been a few days. I've been quite busy on this end doing all kinds of stuff, but we're here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Man, it was actually a warm one today. I think this is the first day, definitely the first day of the first time in this year of 2026, we hit over 80, I think, 80 degrees out here in the beautiful state of Arizona. So it was a very nice day, nice warm day. And like I said, I absolutely love warm weather. I just do. I mean, I like the snow, but, I like the warm weather. I'm just going to tell you. Anyway, a lot to talk about in this particular broadcast here. We're going to get into it. We're going to touch on this whole this Shaboozey thing. I mean, here we go. I mean, things if I was to list out the things that I never thought I would be talking about, or better yet, words words I don't think would ever come out of my mouth, Shaboozey would be one of them. Okay, but here we are. We're going to talk about it. He is the black gentleman whose parents are Nigerian. And he just won an award, a Grammy Award, and it was something he said during his acceptance speech that has a lot of Black Americans not too happy. And some, I'm sure many of you already are aware or know whatever, but we're going to give our take on it and talk about that. We're also going to talk about something that a political power broker. He says something quite interesting. I tell you, I saw this. With the Epstein stuff. I mean, there's just so much stuff that's just coming out, and so many confirmations about a lot of things are just coming out, and they're just becoming clearer and clearer and clearer. And but this thing I'm talking about, it's not in the Epstein files, but it's very. It just shows people for who they really are. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into Candace Owens lately. She has been on the hunt. She's been getting into all kinds of different things. And, she's pretty good at what she does. And I try to listen to her when I can and all of that. And she's, I said, man, she's getting so close, and today, today, and then I think yesterday, she was talking about Gilgamesh and how in the Epstein files, how these different powers that shouldn't be, like the Clintons and all of that, how they were digging into, when they went over to Iraq, they were actually trying to locate this, I guess, a temple dedicated to Gilgamesh, and she was tied into the pedos that are all in the Epstein files and all of that kind of stuff. But there's something that she is overlooking, but not just her, but many other people too. And we're going to look at that as well. And there's like a few other things too. Jay-Z, he's getting exposed too. I got some clips of that as well. So we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to get into it. But for now, let's go ahead and put some music on, and let's give people about a minute and a half to get in and get your seat and all of that. And we're going to get things started here. Welcome to the broadcast. another 10 seconds. All right. Got some good music coming at you. I'm slowly in the process of putting together yet another album for y'all. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And I'll be letting you know when we're going to be dropping that one. And of course, you know, you can check us out over on sambatree.com. You know, we have people all the time asking about our music. And, you know, if you're on the Sambatree email list, we do give away music often. So, you know, you're missing out just on the free music that we offer. It just by simply being on the email list. So make sure you're on the email list, and yeah, you can get some free music there. And it ain't just some regular music. I mean, we really put our thought into it there. So here's just some of the things here. The Dreamer Who Remembered. The last one we dropped was Go Solar. This one right here. That one. Then the one before that was A Dreamer Who Remembered. I really love that one. Sound Time. That was our first one, I believe. And this is just the single, The Dreamer Who Remembered. No. Course Correct was our first one. Sorry about that. Course Correct was our first one. I like that one. And then it was Sound Time, I believe. That was the next one. Or the other way around, man. Look, I just been producing so much. Yeah, you can find all of that over at sambatree.com. All right. And then we're also, speaking of which, over at Sambatree, we are running a sale. We got a promo going on right now. It is 15% off. Sorry about that. 15% off we got going on right now with our capsules. And these aren't just regular capsules. What's in these capsules is right here. It's sea moss. It's bladderwrack. It's burdock root, all combined together in one capsule. So if you're someone that's like, the sea moss, because we sell the regular dried whole sea moss, but some, a lot of people just don't have time to do all of that, the prep and all that kind of stuff. But what we did was we got dried sea moss. So all of that's already done for you. Bladderwrack, same thing. Burdock root, same thing. And we combined all of this together into one powerful capsule. And it says, get all 102 minerals that your body needs. And the thing that we have to always keep in mind, y'all, is that our food, it does not have all the minerals that we require. I was looking at our soil in the backyard today, and I saw something going on there, and I, looked it up, and it was telling me about it was an abundance of magnesium that was in the soil. And, basically there's there's a few things I may need to do to correct that and all that stuff. But our soil, yes, it's in some places it's full of all the vitamins and a lot of vitamins and minerals. But, there's also, our food oftentimes is missing out on that, especially when you're buying things that were grown in one of these indoor greenhouses where it's like, I forgot what they call, aqua something, where they don't even use soil at all. So I look at that. I don't know all the details of it, but I oftentimes wonder, man, are there minerals and vitamins that are being missed out on this? Because, everybody sees the plant or the fruit or the vegetable, but where, are we missing out on some other things, which I think we are, especially the fact that it's not even exposed to actual sunlight. It's exposed to these indoor LED lights, but not, the actual sunlight. Well, we like real sun over here. And so, and we just rolled out, and that's what I've been working on these last few days, is getting our produce out. Because if you're not aware, we have been selling some produce, some citrus. We've been selling oranges, lemons, and we put a surprise in there for y'all. Surprise fruit that we came across. So you're gonna find that in there. We hooked y'all up. Everyone who's ordered the citrus boxes, we hooked you up. Also, our sea moss tea. Our sea moss tea is already being shipped out as we speak. It's being made and shipped. So it's exciting to see when the wheels are just turning and going and getting stuff out. So we're very excited about that. Let us know if you did order that. Let us know about that. We got some great ideas, in the future regarding that. Did I say sea moss? Soursop tea, because it goes through a whole process. We freeze it. So, because we want to make sure when it gets to your door, you can just pop that thing open and start drinking, because we did a refrigeration for you. We even saved you some money in refrigeration. I mean, how much more do you want us to do? You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, what you got on your screen again, 15% off. If you're looking for a way to energize your body, your health, make sure you jump on this. 15% off over on sombertree.com. Let me give a shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Of course, we got CTO Drums in the house. We got Mackenzie, always good to see you in the house. We got our dear sister Mauricia. I always want to say Marsha, and Nicole's always like, Dwayne, it's not Marsha. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So Mauricia. Hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, in my mind, you're Marsha to me. So, but either way, she has a great channel. Let's check her out. Okay. She's into counseling and all that. So make sure you check her out there. Jennifer Young is in the house too. Good to see Jennifer Young as always. And let's see who else we got. Anybody else that's just kind of watching or whatever. So we're all here, all in the house, and many more will be coming in over time and all of that. Anytime I do these lives, it's always not really a whole lot of people watching me live, but that's okay. You ever go on some of those lives and it thing just be flying? I'm like, I don't, are they just talking in their minds? I mean, because I don't know anybody who's reading this stuff. So ours is kind of chill, and people come in when they figure it out. So we got Kibwe, Logic. I think you reached out to us, right? We got a message coming back to you. So stay tuned for that, okay? You got a barbershop, don't you? If you got a barbershop, put your barbershop info in there and where it's located, okay? Pump yourself up, man. You could do that. I'm okay with that. So yeah, I know I'm talking to the right dude. So yeah, if you put your barbershop information in there, let people know where you are and all that kind of stuff, okay? All right, want to hook up our people. Anyway, good to see everybody here. Let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So this week, oh my, we had this guy who basically calls himself Shaboozey. Okay, he's a black individual who his parents are Nigerian. I personally don't care about that. I mean, he does, but I didn't really care at first. I've actually heard one or two of his songs. He sings like country music, so he's really an oddity, but he's very talented. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, put your info up there. Very talented. And but he sings country music with a hip hop kind of vibe to it, right? I would play you one, but they're gonna strike me down with that. But yeah, he puts his music out there, and and he's gotten a really great response. It's really between Beyonce, doing her album, country music album, that's really starting somewhat of a revival of black people getting back into country music, which, by the way, country music isn't a foreign thing to black folks. Black folks, we really are the ones that put that together. I mean, let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? And so, but you got people so you got a lot of black folks. It's not just Beyonce. She just came up with that one album or whatever, but there's been other people as well that are up and coming or are doing quite well in the country music genre, black folks. And so, of course, that's got a lot of white people kind of scared. They're like, oh no, you're taking away our music, that kind of thing. But, music is music. We love music. That's us. That's, we just love music. and anybody that loves music, you don't really care about all the little whatever, right? Which is why, when I didn't even watch it, but the Grammy Awards, you saw the theme was "We Hate ICE," and so I just saw the highlights, and everybody that was getting up and winning, they would get up and say, I want to make this statement about America and how America needs to do better and how we treat our citizens. And I'm sitting up here like scratching my head. I'm like, well, ICE ain't going after citizens. They're going after people who are in this country illegally, right? So anyway, let me see if I can find the audio of his speech. Okay, so give me just a moment. Let's see, because I can't play the video because they're gonna get me on that. All right, so this is probably not the full one. So hold on, let me see if I can get the. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this is it. Okay, so I'll just play the audio. Uh-oh. I always be leaving my music on. Anyway, let me see. Let's see. I'll turn that music off first, and then let's get to Shaboozey. Let's take a listen to him. All right, so let's go.
And the last thing I want to say, immigrants built this country, literally. So this is for them, for all children of immigrants. This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity, to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it. Thank you for bringing your culture, your music, your stories, and your traditions here. You give America color. I love y'all so much. Thank you.
All right, so that was his speech, right? So a lot of Black Americans like myself, we had some serious problems with that. Again, I don't really care. I didn't lose any sleep over it either way. But, when I did hear it, it did irk me some, because this is part of a trend that many of us have been pointing out for a very long time. And I'm going to talk about another aspect of this a little bit later on. I've actually touched on this before, how, between AI and the, now we got the immigrant angle that's working overtime really to eradicate Black culture, Black American culture. And for some people who may be in, you came into this country as an immigrant, or maybe your parents did, it may not be, you may think, oh, well, what's the big deal about it? But it is a big deal. It is a very big deal. Because let me just start off with this. If I were to go to Nigeria today, okay, if I went to Nigeria, and let's say I was there for 10 days, right? And I'm just there for 10 days. And is that my hair? Okay, I don't know what that. Anyway, was there for 10 days. And they said, you know what, Dwayne, we're going to give you citizenship. Here's your paperwork. Boom, you're a citizen. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm a Nigerian citizen, right? Now, when I go out in the streets, do you think they're going to treat me like a Nigerian? No. They're gonna definitely see that I'm not from Nigeria, right? And so they're going to treat me a little bit differently. I'm not saying they're gonna treat me bad. I'm just saying they will treat me differently as someone who's not from that country. Okay, so just walk with me on this. And so they're going to automatically recognize that, yes, I am not from this country. So therefore, there are certain social whatever spaces that I won't automatically be welcome in. You got to earn that stuff, right? You got to earn that. And you don't just walk in and start claiming. I wouldn't have the right, if you will, to go to Nigeria and say, yep, as all of us as Nigerians. Now, am I a Nigerian on paper? Yes, I'm a Nigerian on paper, but am I a Nigerian when it comes to, someone who has roots in that country? No, I'm not. So I have to sit back and be like, you know what? I just moved here. It's time for me. I need to sit back and let me just take all this in and let me just learn and all that kind of stuff. Respect the culture, that whole kind of thing. But I'm not going to, I have no space to sit up here and to claim the history and the legacy and all of that of Nigerians. I wouldn't have any right to do that, quite honestly. You know what I mean? I mean, if I did try to do it, they would rightfully slap me down. Understand that, right? And so that's what it is in this case here, right? So this guy, he got up there, he won his award or whatever, and then he makes a very critical error by stating that immigrants built this country. And so basically what he did was this: he literally skipped over the whole Black American contribution to the building of this country. And so he literally, and that's why I put on the title of this video, I said he literally became the meme, because this is what a lot of people have been pointing out for a very long time. And again, I'm not saying this for all. If you are someone that is non-Black American, I am not saying you are like this, okay? I'm not talking to you. If you don't do this, then you cool. I'm not talking to you. But I am addressing those who do this kind of stuff. What we have been seeing and witnessing, I'm talking about here in America in particular, is that you have Black immigrants that come to this country and they want to claim that they are Black, right? They want to get under the Black umbrella, so to speak, right? And then what happens is, and so they take the benefits and do all that stuff, right? But then once they start succeeding, once they start winning, once they start gaining and all of that, then what they'll do is say, as a Nigerian American, as a Ghanaian, as a so-and-so, now all of a sudden you ain't Black anymore. You understand what I'm saying? And so that is attached to a lot of that has been coming out over the years, where you're starting to hear from people from the islands, you're starting to hear from people from the continent that say, my parents even told me that, whatever you do, don't marry a Black American. You don't want to do that. And again, I have to say this one more time, because, folks can be emotional. They hear what they want to hear. What I am saying is this is not applicable to all, but a lot do that. Okay. And so what this dude did is basically underscored that. And, and it left a lot of Black Americans, rightfully, like me, sit up here like, immigrants. We weren't immigrants. You know what I mean? We didn't choose to come over here. So we kind of bypassed that whole Ellis Island thing. We had nothing to do with Ellis. We may have seen Ellis Island in one of the portholes or something, but we didn't go that way. You, on the other hand, your parents got on a plane. They flew over here. You didn't build anything but a career. That's what you did. And for you to kind of just leave all of that out, that says a lot. And see, let me just say this too. And for those people that would say, well, Black Americans, you're overreacting. Let me just say this. That certain group that we talk about often on this platform, if we were Jewish, good and doggone well, they would correct you on that. And I'm not saying do it because they would do it. I'm just simply saying there is this respect for certain groups. But when it comes to Black Americans, when it comes to our history, there is very little respect, especially from many, not all, but many Black folks who do come from the continent, especially Black folks who do come from the Caribbean. It's just what it is. It's very true. Now, I'm not one of these Negroes that's going to sit up here and try to dream some kind of alternate origin story of Black people. I don't do that. I am 100%. We came from Africa. 100%. There is an African diaspora. I'm 100% that. I really study our history, our culture, everything from food, everything. We got a whole body of work that we look at things very meticulously. So there is none of that. That is there. We do have that in ourselves. We are connected to this continent, right? But at the same time, we built a unique culture that was based off of that. But we did build a unique culture here. But it came via slavery. And it was those slaves that were used to build this country. We may have built the foundation, but we did not control the infrastructure. I did a whole video on that where people, explain to people that when I'm talking about black people built the foundation of this country, I'm not saying we built everything. Like, you got a lot of people like, we built everything. Well, that's not true. We did build a foundation, but we did not build we didn't build everything, right? We didn't build everything. We're not in control of hardly any of this stuff. Case in point, look at any artist that, that says, okay, I'm gonna make an album and you're gonna get signed by who? It ain't gonna be black folks. Ultimately, it's gonna be Jewish people more than likely that's gonna control your career. Or if you get a bank loan, you more than likely are not gonna get a loan from a black-owned bank. And even if you do, that black-owned bank is backed by Jewish banks. You understand what I'm saying? So there really isn't, we don't have that kind of control. And so we're very sensitive when it comes to our history. And so this is something that we have been seeing playing out over and over and over again. Let me go to this. He actually, and when he said that, I automatically knew. I said, yeah, give him a little bit. I said, give him about a day or two. I said, he's going to come out with a statement. And sure enough, here's his statement. I knew it was going to happen because he was getting some serious blowback. Rightfully so. He was getting some serious blowback. And this is the, here it is right here. I'll just read it to you, okay? He said, first and foremost, I want to express my deep gratitude to everyone who has supported and celebrated my journey as an artist. Also want to acknowledge the conversation surrounding my acceptance speech. To be clear, I know and I believe that we, black people, have also built this country. My words were never intended to dismiss that truth. I am both a black man and the son of Nigerian immigrants. And in this overwhelming moment of winning my first Grammy, my focus was only on honoring the sacrifices my parents made by coming to this country to give me and my siblings opportunities they never had. Let's stop there. Let's go back again. To be clear, I know and I believe that we, black people, have also built this country. Negro, you didn't build anything. You built a career. You built a career. You did not, your family did not build this country. They had no part in that. Okay, so that is a gross historical inaccuracy. All right. So now legally, this goes back to my example I was giving earlier. Legally, he is would be categorized as a black American. I know there's some people out here saying that he's a Nigerian. Well, he's a Nigerian, through his parents, but legally on paper, because he was born here on this soil. So on paper, that would make him a black American, but that's about as far as it goes. So that's why when you read this and it says, to be clear, I know and believe that we black people have also built this country. My words were never intended to dismiss that truth. I am both a black man and the son of Nigerian immigrants. So on paper, yes, you see how the words are being played around here, in the son of Nigerian immigrants, and in the overwhelming moment, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll just finish reading it. At the same time, winning this award on the first day of Black History Month and becoming the first black man to win the best country duo is Black history. And I'm going to get on that for a moment here. It stands on a foundation laid by generations of black people who fought, sacrificed, and succeeded long before me. This moment belongs to all of us. My entire career has been rooted in lifting people up, honoring where we come from, and expanding what's possible. I am proud to be a part of this legacy, and I intend to continue doing that work for the rest of my life. And there you go. So that's what he said there. So, but again, I think in some ways, I think he tried to fix it, but I almost think that he made it a little bit worse. And here's another thing that I want to say too. Let me see if I can find this. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. It was something that someone said that was really good. If I can't find it, I'll just go through it from memory. But basically, I think I can recall it right now. Basically, the thing is that there has been a push to create, you know how we have Black History Month? Well, they want to create a Black Diaspora Month. Or they want to create African Diaspora Month here in the United States. So it's like you're trying to claim both, but you will only claim one when you're succeeding. But when you're not, it's I'm the other thing. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what Black people, Black Americans are getting tired of. And so when he said what he did, it just really threw a lot of people off. And like I said, and rightfully so. So if you are somebody that isn't Black American, you would be considered Black, but you're not Black American. I don't care if you're legal or illegal or whatever. I don't care. Just understand that fact. And so I think, like I said, towards the end, he tried to correct that. But and I'll just say this. Nobody's saying that you have to deny the Nigerian part of you. That's you, right? But when you make a statement saying that your people built this country, they did not. And see, that leads into a lot of other things that have been going on as of late. And so that with that, let me go to this one here. Let me see. This was a let's see. I have been it's several people have been trying to do this stuff. And some of these people, I have a strong feeling they too are, I'm not going to call them tethers because, I don't do that. But they, but like this, for example, this individual here on February 4th, 1999. And then it's not just this individual, it's a lot of other people. It's like they get a memo or something like that and they all put up the same post. February the 4th, 1999, Amadou Diallo, an African immigrant, was shot 19 times in a hail of 41 bullets by an NYPD, claiming his wallet was a gun. As organizers hit the streets, African immigrant, Black also African, and others all knew it was the same system of oppression. So now the word is we're going to dig up Amadou Diallo's grave so that we can further push this pro illegal immigrant narrative. And it's like literally when I tell you these people are trying to do everything they can, and I got a couple of other examples too. They are doing literally trying to do everything they can to get Black people engaged in this thing. And Black Americans are saying, no, that does not involve me. That's it. You make it very clear that our relationship is conditional. So therefore, get into your condition and fix it. You understand? And so in this case here, since I was alive then, okay, like I'm sure many of you, I could tell you a little bit about it. Basically, yes, this person is correct that Black Americans did, along with other people, they did get together and made a lot of noise about this. This was a clear injustice that happened to this individual. Very clear. But make no mistake about it, even though it was faintly mentioned that he was an immigrant, nobody really made that into a big deal. We just saw it as it was an injustice. It's something that was wrong, and we need to speak out on it. No exceptions, period. NYPD, they were doing some crazy stuff. Like they always do. Got a long history of doing some crazy stuff, especially when it comes to people who are non-white. They got a long history of doing that. But it was this post, and then there was another post I came across where they did this long thing and but they positioned this gentleman, Diallo. They positioned him as being the crux of establishing a protest movement amongst Black people. That's how they try to position it. And I had to correct them on that. I said it was very unfortunate what happened to that young man. But what happened to that young man was only one example out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of other examples that predated his unfortunate demise of Black Americans that went through this stuff. And I say, you're the one that's bringing up the whole immigrant stuff. Black people weren't even thinking about that. When that happened, it was just, this is wrong and that's it. But what I'm seeing now is now they're using this dude and trying to almost deify him and trying to repackage his story as, well, he wasn't just Black, he was an immigrant. And you see, if they're going to do this to immigrants, they're going to come after Black people too. That's what they're trying to do. But let me give you some more. I got another example here too. Let me find you another one. They're really trying to go hard with this stuff. Let's see. Like, they really are trying to go hard with this whole narrative. This is, where did I put it? Okay, here is this one here. Oh yeah, here we go. This is another one. I don't know who this guy is. I'm just gonna play the video anyway, but let me play this one here. I want you to take a listen to this guy. But there's a lot of videos that are coming out on social media just like this. Take a listen.
Black people, we need to talk about something urgent. We're walking into a perfect ice storm, and I'm not sure we're paying attention. Here's what's happening right now and why it matters to you. Two things just collided. First, the Supreme Court ruled that ICE can conduct warrantless arrests and searches while looking for undocumented immigrants, basically giving them permission to racially profile accountability. And you may be thinking, that's not about us, they targeting Latinos. But here's part two. On February 3rd, temporary protective status ends for 350,000 Haitian immigrants. They are now deportation targets. And here's the thing. Haitians are Black Americans. Same skin, same accent in many cases.
No, they're not.
Can you see where this is going?
Yeah, it's going straight to hell, because what you're saying is a complete lie. They are not Black Americans. They are Haitians. And if the Haitians, the specific Haitians that you're talking about, if they entered into this country illegally, they are still Haitian. There's nothing American about them, period. I don't hate Haitians, but I'm just telling you like it is. But you see how they try to slip that in there and try to make it seem like they're Black. No, they're not. They're not. They are not. And let me go back. Let's go back. Because, yeah, we're going to nitpick on this. Go ahead. Let's go back.
Targets. And here's the thing. Haitians are Black Americans.
No, they're not. Okay, let's go on.
Same skin, same accent in many cases.
No, sir. No, sir. Haitians, they can speak, there are many Haitians I've come across. They sound just like me or whatever. That's because they've been in this country for a long time. And usually in that case, in most of those cases, is because they're in this country legally, right? But there are a lot of Haitians, no, they do, it varies. Some have an accent, others don't. But they can break off into French in a second. Most Black Americans can't do that. You understand what I'm saying? So no, it's not. But I'm just saying how these people try to bend reality to try to get Black people on the front lines of this stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, let me play it.
Can you see where this is going? Here's the equation. ICE can racially profile, plus they're hunting Black immigrants who look just like us, equals all Black people are now more vulnerable. And before you say, but I'm a citizen, over the past year, we've seen multiple cases of actual U.S. citizens being detained by ICE for days and weeks at a time. Documentation did not save them.
No, okay, then name them. Because there's one in particular right now that I'm thinking of where ICE did detain them, but then they dug in that story a little bit deeper, and they found the reason why, and this is that family, and this is a few weeks ago, it was a Black family that was making a claim that ICE threw a smoke bomb in their car, injured their child, and all of that. Horrible, right? But the reason why that happened, they said it was because of the fact that it was a couple. This couple left their car parked somewhere so that they can participate in an anti-ICE protest. They left their child in the car. They were getting in the face of these ICE agents. And that's why I'm telling these folks, y'all just, I don't know why people feel like they gotta be you know, you trying to be in the middle doing the Michael Jackson Beat It thing, you know, where you in the middle between the two gangs. Like, Marcy, what she's saying is true. It's like, why some folk feel like they got to be in the middle of everything. Why? And so anyway, what happened was they did something, and so they tried to get away. And what happened was ICE did, in fact, throw a smoke bomb in their car and all of that. But then what people try to do is they try to turn that story and make it into, see, they're going after black people too. They try to turn it into that. But see, the truth sometimes can be a lonely traveler, but truth will always arrive when it needs to arrive. And the rest of the story came out on that, and then it literally just went away because people don't want to hear that part of it. But no, they are not snatching average black Americans off the streets. They're not doing that. I have literally no fear of that at all. So miss me with all of that nonsense. Anyway, let's continue.
This isn't theoretical. So here's what we do. Number one, if ICE approaches you, stay calm, comply, and show ID. I know it's unjust. It's enraging. We shouldn't have to do it. But this is about survival. Just like the talk all of our parents gave us about surviving police encounters.
No, sir. No, sir. See how they do this? You see how they do this? No, that talk had nothing to do with illegal immigration. They were giving us a talk about if we lived in a neighborhood where there was a lot of police activity, they were preparing us. If you encounter the cops, make sure this is how you handle yourself. That's the talk. They weren't giving us a talk about make sure you got your passport and make sure you got your green card and make sure you when you talk to them, make sure you don't talk without an accent. Make sure you got your slave pass. No, none of us had that talk. But you see how they take our culture. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You are taking a part of real black American history and trying to merge it into the affairs of what's going on with people who are in this country illegally. It's not the same. Anyway, let them.
When we were young. 2, organize now.
Nope.
Connect with neighbors.
Busy.
Especially in areas where there's a high population of Haitian immigrants like Massachusetts and Florida and New.
They don't want to organize with me. He mentioned Florida. I've already told y'all stories about that. I lived in South Florida, and I tried to connect with folks who were from Haiti and in some of those other Caribbean areas. They ain't had nothing to do with it. I was being nice, trying to be kind. I ain't saying all of them were like that, but a lot of them, they just stayed to their own world. So I'm like, okay, cool. That was one of the reasons why I left. I ended up leaving Florida. I was like, okay, that's how y'all do down here. Okay, fine. I'm out. That's it. And that's all right. I'm not mad. I ain't bitter over that. I'm just like, okay, cool. Y'all got your own thing going on. Okay, that's cool. That's you. But now it's on us to organize and get out
New
of
York.
here.
Create text chains to alert each other when ICE is spotted.
Nope.
3, get involved locally and register to vote. And I know some of you are thinking violence is the answer. I feel you.
I'm not thinking that. You may be thinking that. I ain't going to jail over that. You might be thinking that. You may want to get with them, what they call themselves. They can't call it, you saw recently, there was like the Black Panther Party, the revival of it. You remember all of that happened, that was happening weeks ago in this, I forgot the dick they gave him. But, Huey Newton, right? They called him Hector Newton or something like that. I mean, the guy looked like clearly was mixed or whatever. And then he's out there trying to take the legacy of Black Panthers. It's another example. That was another example. You taking a legacy, another part of Black history. You taking the legacy of the Black Panther Party and you're trying to change it and had the Black Panthers out there marching with illegal immigrants. And Black Americans were like, oh, hold on for a second. They weren't never about that. And then the niece, I think it was Huey Newton or whatever, she was like, oh no, I'm filing that paperwork. Next thing you know, we ain't and this is true. I ain't making this up. he said, well, they did this big video, whatever, and they said, well, we're not the Black Panthers anymore because we got that legal paperwork, but now we're the Black Lions. I said, okay, let's see how far that goes. The Black Lions, okay, all right.
Is righteous. But hear me, lone wolves get eliminated. If you're serious about any kind of resistance, it requires coordination, strategy, and numbers. Don't sacrifice yourself for nothing. We need you alive and connected. Not to mention, this is happening during Black History Month. The irony is
See that? See how they do that? See how they trying to link us in that? It's happening during Black History Month. It's been, so wait a minute. So I'm supposed to lose sleep, get organized in the Somalia community? Because that's where that all happened. That's why everybody's all amped up about this in Minnesota. All of this started by all that exposure that happened with the Somali community. You think they want to organize with Black Americans? Bruh, take that 90s sweater cap that you got on, that I don't know, part leather, part, I don't know what that is. It's too tight because you clearly ain't thinking
insane, but the danger is real. Be vigilant, stay woke, stay alive. Our ancestors overcame worse with less. We can do this, but we got to do it together.
God, man, these people, man. I'm just pointing out how they just kind of go back and forth with the history stuff. Our ancestors. What do you mean our ancestors? Our ancestors? No. So I'm telling you, I have been seeing this. They've been going hard on my timeline with all of this stuff. Y'all tell me too, if you've been seeing it, let me know here. Now check this out. Now this, there's a politician down in Texas. I was like, did you actually allow that to fall out of your mouth? I don't know. I actually looked in her. It's been a long time ago. Is she an immigrant? I can't remember. Anyway, Representative Wilson. I want you to take a listen to what she said there. This is wild. I was like, what? Anyway, take a listen to this.
And they are terrorized. They're terrorized. Haitian nationals. This is cruelty, this is inhumane, and this is a death sentence. Because we already know the consequences. Because in Haiti, there's open warfare and rape. There's ravaging violence against women and children. There are no school days, no work schedule. You do what the gangs want you to do.
Now, let me stop there for a second. Okay, so let me just let you know, I've never been to Haiti, okay? I ain't got no hatred towards Haitians at all. I don't. Some of my best friends, no, I'm just I'm just playing. But seriously, I don't have any issue. I mean, for what? I don't have any issues with people from Haiti, right? I've never visited the island. There was a part of a video. I'm trying to remember the guy that is very good on YouTube channel. He travels to different parts of the world and all that. It's a Black guy. He actually went to Haiti and he showed some very beautiful parts of Haiti. Oh my God. I didn't realize it was, because the media, I'm just being honest, they always focus on the bad parts of Haiti. I mean, like they do with Africa. But he was showing some very beautiful, it's a beautiful country, right? And so I was like, wow, that's really something. So there's a lot of beauty in that country. Now, they do have their issues and stuff that's going on there, but I'm only assuming that how she's portraying this, that's not the case in all parts of Haiti. I think she's probably overestimating the situation. I mean, I know there's some things that are there that ain't on the up and up. I get that, right? I mean, you'll find that anywhere. I think Haiti's probably a little bit worse. And yes, we do understand the history of Haiti and all that. So please don't fill my comment section with that, right? I do get it, but the way she's portraying it, it's like, it's funny. if I was to change the person that was saying that, like, for example, Trump, I don't really know what the difference would be, because Trump, he described it as a S-hole country, one of the S-hole countries. Did he not? That sounds just like what she was. I mean, it's just something. But anyway, she's saying that it would be a death sentence for them to go back to their country. Now, that is sad. But, but at the same time, this is something that you can't play both sides of the rail on this when it comes to illegal immigration. Because, see, on all this illegal immigration talk, you notice that people aren't bringing up the fact that there are many people from the continent of Africa. There are many people from the Caribbean that legally immigrate into countries, into the United States. There's many that do that every day. So why is it? So what you're doing is you're wanting to push a very open borders policy that leapfrogs over these people who have been patiently going through all the hoops that they have to go through just to become a legal citizen. You want all of these people just to leapfrog over them and just basically, because what it is basically they're trying to get more voters. That's basically what it's come down to. But there's many people. There are people all in the Caribbean. There are people from, like I said, the continent of Africa, Central America. There are people that come into the United States all the time, legally. So I don't understand, why is this so difficult to do things legally? There was another story that I came across here. I know I'm spending a lot of time with this, but there was another story that I came across where there's a guy that's been in this country since the age of 2. He's been in this country since the age of 2, y'all. And I looked at the pictures, and he looks like he's about my age. He's got 7 kids. And he's a double amputee. I don't know what the heck happened, but he's a double amputee. And I finally caught up to him. They said, you got to go back. God, man, these people ain't playing, man. I'm just saying, Trump told these folks this. It's not funny, God, man. It's not funny, man. I'm only laughing because I'm like, dang, they are not playing. This dude was a double amputee, man. And they said, you got to go. You got to go. Something's messed up, but it's true. Guess what? If I was a double amputee in that country, they would wheel my butt up out of there too. They wouldn't care. But I belong here. Well, you okay? Belong yourself in this seat because you about to go. Okay, that's what's gonna happen right now. When they rolled his butt up out of here, and now they want black people to rally, but no. You know how many people from these other countries have paid the price and did all what they had to do to come to this country legally? And now all of us, and he had like a criminal record. So I don't know how you gonna be a double amputee and commit crime. There's some things, conversations I really don't even want to get into. It's just that in of itself is crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, let's move on. Another story here. We got folks here that are, I saw this one on my tab here. Let me go here. We're going to get to the Candace Owens story here in a moment. She discovered Gilgamesh. We're going to talk about that, and what I have been, I'm going to try to sum it up as kind of as short as I possibly can, because it ties into something I have been looking into or whatever, but we're going to make that part. We're going to get right to it here. Let me see. I am looking for. Okay, not that. Oh, here we go. Let me play this one here. Okay, now for my people who say, now, you hear me say that this is America, Black America, this is our country, that kind of thing, right? I'm saying all that, but I've also said too that our history, our history our culture is in fact at the root African. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are African, legally, so to speak, right? But we are, our culture, everything about all the tells in our culture are in fact that. It just is. You may not like that answer, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, I bump heads with people all the time that say, no, I have nothing to do. It's nothing about me at all. My phenotype, there's absolutely nothing about my face. There's nothing about how I dance. There's nothing at all African at all. I despise that. That's not me. Okay, that's not me. I actually I'm one of those people. I look at the facts, right? And so you do have people who are standing on there too, and they're saying, nope. The reason why I know this is because my grandmother told me that we were always here. Okay, so you got those people. And I was telling someone, I said, isn't it funny that you always getting these stories from grandma, but nobody ever talks to grandpa? Why all these stories always coming from grandma? But anyway, so here's a video that I came across, and they were like, basically they're saying, remember, we got to make sure that we talk to our elders, listen to our elders, because they're going to tell you the truth. All right, now I'm just playing the video. So here's someone talking about their 95-year-old grandma. Let's take a listen to what 95-year-old grandma had to say.
Black people was already here. That's a bald-faced lie. He didn't discover no America, and the ship got in troubled water. Mm-hmm. And them black men was already here. Mm-hmm. The black people was already here. So they went out in that ocean and rescued Columbus off that ship. Mm. But they didn't have no knowledge, no learning or nothing. Mm-hmm. And then he came here and he put him into slavery. It saved his life. Mm. But he's a bald-faced lie when he said he discovered America. That's a bald-faced lie. If my black relative didn't went out there and to rescue his butt, when that the turbulence was tearing up them ships, he wouldn't have been here. Mm. So black people didn't know. All they knew was living off the land, and they didn't know how to fight for themselves. Right. He put the black people into slavery. And the big old giant. My grandfather was tall. Mm-hmm. And
all right, let me just stop there, okay? Let's just stop there. So, according to grandma, she said that her relative or whatever swam out to save Christopher Columbus from his ship. Let me say that again. Grandma said that her relative swam out to rescue Christopher Columbus from his ship. Now, according to that video they put on there, she was 95 years old, which means that she was born in 1931. Christopher Columbus came to America, what would later be called America, was it 1400s? Something around that time. Yeah, I believe in oral traditions. Most cultures have their oral traditions. I've yet to meet anybody that have an oral tradition that goes back that far. But yet people are out here pushing this stuff and saying that you better listen to your relatives. This is why I tell people you got to get help. Now if she's 95 years old, I just said, let her cook in the other room. Okay. Let her cook in the other room. Okay. Because at that age, for some people, you know what I'm saying? They start to lose a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. We don't hate grandma. We don't hate grandma at all, but let her cook over there. Okay. You could, let her cook outside or, in another room somewhere. That's okay. Let her. Let her cook. Okay, let her cook over there. But yeah, to use her as a historian that's going to. No. It just, no, don't do this. Please. Don't do this. So I saw this and I was just like, yo, this ain't it. This I said, ma'am, now ma'am. It's okay. And you saw the woman that was like, and she's showing like the hair and all that, like, oh, see, she got that pretty Indian hair, that kind of thing. You see what, come on. I see what's happening. We see what's happening. Anyway, let me move on here to this next story here as I'm moving along here, looking at my time like, dang, man, my time moving. Got my Jay-Z stories lined up here. I'm trying to find a doggone story that, let's see now. Let me see. Give me just a moment here. That would be under. Okay, you know what? Hey, I can't stand y'all. Okay, hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna have to look this up. Let's see, James Carr. Oh, this is so funny, man. I'm telling you, this is so funny, man. I'll have stuff lined up and it just disappears, man. It's just, okay, let me see. I have to get in a better habit of, and this is just me, I do have to get in a better habit of just downloading these videos, because it just, what happens is I'll just bookmark and I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be there later. And then I go back, I can't even find it. But anyway, let me see. It's not under there. It's not there. Okay, let me do a search here and see. James. Here we go. Let's see. I'm going to play the audio here. Hold on.
But if I were like betting the Kentucky Derby and I saw this 12-1 horse, she has no chance.
Why not?
Because no Democrat wants anything to do with, this is not what we're doing. We're not. I mean, look, if you do a poll and you say that for.
Okay, hold on. I'm just going to pull it up. Okay, this is it. Here it is. This is what I was looking for. This is James Carville. He's like the political guru for the Democrats. I want you to take a listen to something he said here. And, no shock at all, but take a listen then. This is something he said recently.
Who is the Democrat that you see who can carry the flag into 2028? Kamala Harris?
No.
AOC?
No.
Rahm Emanuel?
To win the Democratic nomination, you have to ask yourself two really important questions. One, can you raise a lot of early money? The second question you have to ask yourself.
Listen.
Who can walk into a black fish fry in South Carolina, a black church? Now, they can be nice. They're very polite people.
Yeah.
But who is going to get them to hum and sway? If I had to say one guy, if I were like bet.
Did you hear that? I got to rewind it again, because maybe you didn't hear that right. You heard it right the first time, but let me play it again, because I wanted to get into your spirit. Okay. Listen.
One, can you raise a lot of early money? The second question you have to ask yourself, who can walk into a black fish fry in South Carolina, a black church? Now, they can be nice. They're very polite people.
Yeah.
But who is going to get them to hum and sway? If I had to say one guy, if I were like betting the Kentucky Derby and I saw this 12-1 horse and I said, yeah, I want to get a price, I'd take J.B. Pritzker.
Really? Why?
Anyway, that's he said, who can get them to hum and sway? He said that out of his mouth, to get them to hum and sway. So never mind anything we've been asking for or whatever, demanding or whatever. As long as we can get them to hum and sway and make sure it's at a fish fry. We've been pointing this out for years, y'all. We've been saying this, and not just, many other people too, been saying this is ultimately what it is. That's what Kamala, that's what she did. That's basically what she did. She got it. Remember, she told that story about my mother. Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you what my mother did. We used to make collard greens, and what we would do is we would wash them in the bathtub. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Anyway, no. But no. We don't do that. You already lost points on that. You wash collard greens in the bathtub? Yeah. No. Nope. Stick to the other stuff. Stick to the other stuff, but don't leave our food alone. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? This is in 2026, and they're still at this stuff. They're still at this layer where they're saying that, in order to reach black people, make sure you go to a fish fry, make sure you go to the church, and make sure you get them to hum and sway. So it said, and bring your own hot sauce. That's what Hillary, that's what she said. I carry my hot sauce in my pocket all the time. And then they were like this, woo! And I'm like, oh gosh. Come on, I know she's a sister. I know Hillary, at the end of the day, she black just like us. Can't you see the difference? Hillary is, look, it's like this. See, this is Hillary right here. See, we're black. Both of us are black. Can't you see? And people fall along with it. They go right along with it. Anyway, let's move on here. Let's see. Back to my bookmarks. And I just want to make sure I got everything covered before we hit the other thing. Jay-Z. That's who I wanted to talk about. Jay-Z. Jay-Z in the house. Well, his name has been coming up in the Epstein files and all of that. And if you saw the community page that on right here on YouTube, you'll see that I posted a memo, or not a memo, it was an email that a certain banker sent to Epstein. And here we go. Here we go right here. I'll pull it up right here on the screen for you right now. Jay-Z. And people have been calling this dude out for years. For years, they've been calling him out. And finally, it's all coming out. Anyway, so this is from a banker by the name of Jess Staley. And he was part of Blue Mountain Capital, but I think he's moved on since then. But this was an email sent back in 2014. And this is what he said to Jeff Epstein. He said, you want to know why we are you want to know why we are not Sao Paulo? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's all about hip blacks in cars with white women. The group that should be in the streets has been bought off by Jay-Z. Oh, man. And I said and then I put a link there because let me show you this video here. This goes back in 2017. Now, this isn't Epstein. He's not in this video, but another one of the tribe members was basically defending Jay-Z when he was just asked a very simple question. And the question had to do with incarceration of black people. Jay-Z and all that hood talk and all of that stuff, he couldn't even answer that question. Take a listen to this. Watch the whole interaction.
in your thoughts on Donald Trump and what it means for mass, or no, what it means for mass incarceration.
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
Well, then can I ask you about mass incarceration? And do you think the movement is... Okay.
Couldn't talk about it. He had Harvey Weinstein basically to be his handler and said, don't talk about it. Basically, he's my friend, and no, we're not going to talk about that. But you got black folks out here that will defend Jay-Z, and still in Breakfast Club, you had Charlemagne the Clown. Charlemagne the Clown got up there and defended Jay-Z, and I ain't even have to listen to the whole thing. All I heard was him say, Charlemagne the Clown, all I heard him say was, see, the problem is, why is it that black people, we always got to tear our own down? He came that way. And once I heard that, that was all I needed to hear. That was literally all I needed to hear. I was like, well, that's it. I don't need to hear anything else. But see, Charlemagne the Clown got a long history of doing that kind of stuff. He's got a very long history of Rock Nation. Anytime they need a favor, he's right there to do it. Even the whole Charlemagne the Clown thing, it's just something to me, because this dude, how did he get into a position where he's in today? Like, he's like they try to treat him like he's some kind of a star reporter or something like that from, 60 Minutes level kind of thing. And I'm like, this dude? Anyway, here's another video of Jay-Z at an event, and his handler, Harvey Weinstein, again, showing them around and introducing them to people and all that. Take a look at this. Yes, sir. All coming out, ain't it? It's all coming out. It's all coming out. And speaking of which, that reminds me of this. Oh, this is another video here that I had. You guys remember this video here? This was, let me see. They always put the daggone music on it. Anyway, this is someone captured this. This is Jay-Z at a basketball game. Looks like the Lakers or something like that. And he was trying to reach out to Denzel. I want you to pay, some of y'all may have seen this already, but pay close attention to how Denzel handled that. Just pay close attention. I'm turning the volume down because they put that scary music on there that's probably got some copyright on it. But let me just play it for you. Now look at him. I'm telling you, some of these folks, they know. Anyway, I thought that was funny. Anyway, let's move on here to the next thing here. We're going to get to this Gilgamesh thing here. And that one, I'm going to try to make that as super tight as I can. Let's see. Just making sure I'm covering everything here. Hold on for a second. Oh, I got another one here. I'll just mention this to you here. This is just in passing here. The Epstein stuff has been revealing quite a bit here. Let me touch on this real quick here. Someone spotted this out here. They said, just watch the video on the Epstein files and how he was writing to evolutionary biologist Robert Trivers about studying the bodies of Nigerian women because they are better designed for reproduction. He talks about the lumbar and the curves of their hips being ideal for reproduction. Yeah, there's some other stuff in there too about Nigerian women, using them for experimentation. They also was talking about, I think, Kenyans as well. He was also conversing with Bill Gates and suggesting what parts of Africa where he can do his experimentations and all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. And who's the people at the top in all of these Epstein files. These are Jews. And when I listen to Christians, and this is our segue into Candace Owens, trying to separate Zionism from from the Bible, I'm just baffled. I'm very baffled at that. I mean, the Bible itself is a Zionist book. It is a Zionist book. And so anyway, let me I'll just do that because there's a lot of other things I could touch on, but let me just get to the Candace Owens stuff because I'm looking at my time here. The Bible itself is a Zionist book. And don't believe me, all you got to do is jump to the book of Revelations. What is the promise at the end of the book of Revelation? And that is that a new Jerusalem is going to come down from heaven and is going to descend on the existing Jerusalem. That's Zionism. It is the belief that what we call today Israel is the promised land, and it's promised to a specific group of people. That's Zionism. So when I see Christians out here saying that I'm not a Zionist, and I disagree, what Israel is doing and how they're treating these Palestinians and all of that, you got to look at your Bible, because I certainly don't like it either. I despise it as well. However, one has to just take an honest look at the Bible and see for yourself that I don't know if y'all can see me. Okay. See for yourself. I mean, all the stories about how God, the God of the Bible, basically commanded them, you need to take every man, woman, and child, wipe them out, even the animals and everything like that. That was the command that they executed. Wiping out the children, wiping out the women, wiping out the men, wiping out the animals. And what is the nation state of Israel doing now? Wiping out the children, wiping out the women, wiping out the men, wiping out the animals. They're doing the same exact thing. So as a Christian, this is in your Bible. What the nation state of Israel is doing now is something that was commanded in your Bible. You can't separate that. You may not like that, but you can't separate it because it's in your Bible. It is. And so when I'm listening to some people and they try, like someone like Candace Owens, for example, but there's other people too that try to separate this, and I'm like, no, you can't. It's part of the weaving of the Bible. It is. Yeah, this is something for me. I am speaking as someone who came out of that. So I'm going to have a bit more compassion as I'm talking about this stuff. I'm not on Mount Dwayne somewhere that's 80,000 feet up in the air somewhere, and I'm like, how can you guys get this wrong? You're so stupid. I'm not talking in that way, okay? Because I came through all of that as well, okay? So that's where I'm coming from in everything I'm going to be sharing in this very, very short amount of time, okay? So she's been talking about, and one of the things in the Epstein files, it was talking about how, during the Iraq war and how like Hillary Clinton, she was very concerned, wanting to infiltrate, not just Hillary Clinton, but there was other people. There was a lot of discussion about going into Iraq because Iraq, as you know, was the location of ancient Babylon, right? And there was a lot of weird things that our military was doing. It was documented that they were doing. One of the things, they had a very strong interest in Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh was an ancient king from long time ago, right? And he was in all kind of things, right? And so what Candace Owens is trying to postulate here is how, trying to tie these elites that you see like in the Epstein files where they're into children, they're into human sacrifices, they're in all of this other stuff, and tying it to the whole Gilgamesh thing. And she was saying, this is why they're so interested in the whole Gilgamesh thing. And saying, see, this is why these people are evil. But let me just add this for those who may not be familiar. This is something we have covered quite extensively many times on this platform, even in our class, we offered, and it's still available over on Samba Tree. Go to Samba University. We have a class, we have a booklet, the whole nine that touches on all of this stuff here. And but I'm just going to give you just a small little piece, okay? Just small. I'm not going to overwhelm you with stuff here, but let me just go through this real quick here. If you're going to have the conversation about Gilgamesh and how evil and all this other stuff and how he's tied to everything, then you're going to have a whole conversation about Gilgamesh, because some of you may or may not have heard this ancient series of stories is called the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, the Epic of Gilgamesh. And basically what we know today as the Bible, much of what we, the great stories that we read in the Bible, like the flood and all that, and I'm going to go through a list for you. Well, the flood story isn't an original flood story. There were earlier stories written about a worldwide flood. And remember, I always tell you, worldwide in those days did not include most of Africa. It did not include what we would call today America or the Americas. It did not include, some of these other, it wasn't, the rest of the world was not known for a lot of these people. So for them, they said it would be a worldwide flood. So in the Epic of Gilgamesh, there was a character by the name of, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, it's Utnapishtim. And this individual, he survives a divinely sent flood. He was warned in advance. He builds a large boat and saves animals, releases birds to fly to find dry land. That sounds familiar. Now, mind you, this Epic of Gilgamesh, it was written like at least 1,000 years before the Bible, when the Bible was written. So the Epic of Gilgamesh, it predates the Bible by many years. Okay. So again, the Noah story isn't something that was written in a vacuum. All right. You guys have heard the term syncretism, right? In those areas, and just like in any other area, you're going to find a blending of belief systems, right? When it comes to religions, you see syncretism like in Africa all the time. There's many of these different cultures, some of their beliefs, it overlap, right? The same thing was happening in the Levant. There's many cases where a lot of these stories were overlapping one another. All right. We could talk about Bacchus, or Dionysus. We've talked about those individuals. And in some cases, they're the same. And depending on where you read, some of them are a little bit different. But nonetheless, when we talk about eating flesh and drinking blood, the worshipers of Dionysus, now we're getting into Greek culture. The worshipers of Dionysus, they used to they actually did it, eating flesh and drinking blood. They literally did this, right? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, but anyway, let's move on. So what else in the Epic of Gilgamesh? You have Noah. I already told you about the flood, right? Sorry. The creation of humans from clay. All right. In Gilgamesh, humans formed from clay mixed with divine essence. Again, same thing. The garden sacred tree motif. In Gilgamesh, sacred plants and trees associated with life and immortality. And also in the Epic of Gilgamesh, guess what else happened? A serpent steals the plant of eternal life. This sounds very familiar, doesn't it? There's a serpent, the bad guy, that comes into the picture. Loss of immortality. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, you had Gilgamesh seeks eternal life and fails after the plant is stolen. Again, it's slightly different, but the themes are there. Anyway, divine judgment for human corruption. In Gilgamesh, God sends the flood because humans are too loud, corrupt, and disruptive. And then in the Bible, of course, you had the same thing. Then, of course, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, guess what? The gods regret the flood. And he grants our main character immortality. All right. So, yeah, there's a lot that you can pull from. So if you're going to have a conversation about the Epic of Gilgamesh and how it's tied to the demonic and all this other stuff and child sacrifice, human sacrifice and all that stuff, then you're going to need to look at it all, because the Bible itself is tied into this. I was having this conversation with someone very recently talking about, because there's this thing that a lot of people like to say is, Christianity, it started in Africa. Christianity is actually an African religion. And I've heard so many of these Christian apologists try to do that, and particularly black ones, because they're trying to upsell Christianity or repackage Christianity because they needed a way to combat against Hebrew Israelite movement. So they had to repackage it and started saying that. The truth is this. Christianity actually began in Judea, right? Judea, Jerusalem area. Remember, what did we say? Jerusalem, actually the etymology of the word Jerusalem. It means the seat of Shalem. Jerusalem means the seat of Shalem or Shalem, depending on who you talk to. Shalem was a I believe it's Canaanite or Phoenician god of the evening or the dawn. The dawn. Jerusalem, this holy divine city that the Bible talks about, it's God's city. Okay, if it's God's city, then why is it named after another God? And the Bible compounds on that. Like I said, in the book of Revelation, he says he's going to bring in a new Jerusalem, a new city that's dedicated to the god Shalem. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Anyway, what was I saying? So the Bible, so Christianity, yes, it was starting in that area. But when it was written down, when they said, okay, we need a holy writ, we need a holy text, what did they do? They actually traveled to a place called Alexandria, which is in Virginia, which is not in Virginia. It's in Egypt, okay? Not Alexandria, Virginia, okay? They didn't go there yet, okay? They went to Alexandria, Egypt, all right? Why did they go to Egypt? As I've said before, think of Egypt as, and we know Egypt is a country, right? It was a kingdom, but it's a country now, okay? Think of Egypt, though, or Alexandria in particular, think of it as kind of like a New York City. If, most people will tell you, if you want just a quick overview of America, they will tell you go to New York City, because you're going to see a little bit of everything. It's just slice of everything, and it's a whole small little taste of what America is, right? If you just want a quick overview, you usually just go to the city, right? Well, Egypt was like that too. Alexandria in particular, especially for philosophers and writers and great thinkers and stuff like that, they would go to Alexandria, okay? And so now in Egypt, a lot of times when people talk about Egypt, they talk about it like as Egypt was totally cut off from the rest of Africa. That is not true. Egypt culture was, like we just talked about syncretism, it was pulling from the surrounding cultures that were all throughout the continent of Africa. And so when these other groups start coming in, like the Greeks, like the Romans and all that kind of stuff, it was a very quick way for them to kind of get give me just a quick sampler plate of Africa. And then, of course, Egypt, on top of that, they put their own stamp on it, and they just created their own unique thing, just like all these other cultures do, right? And so these great thinkers went there, and that is where they would discuss things and build stuff, borrow from each other. They would do this all the time. They did this all the time. And it was also including the Bible, all right? The Septuagint. The Septuagint is considered, I would say, when I say the oldest Bible, I'm putting in air quotes here, but it's largely considered the oldest Bible, if you will. This is where we start seeing the Bible actually become the Bible. Okay. the Septuagint was written in Egypt. Now, here's a head scratcher for you. Now, and it was written by Hellenistic Jews. Let me ask you something. Israel was still open and available. Why wouldn't you not write it in your most holy place? Why would you travel to Egypt, the place of your suffering, supposedly? Why would you travel to the place of your so-called suffering to write the most holy of scriptures there? See, a lot of times people don't think this stuff all the way through. Israel was available. They had access to Israel. But according to history, what you're trying to sell me is they said, no, we want to go back to Egypt to write the Bible. What sense does that even make? It doesn't. So already the story is kind of weird here. And I already told you what was going on in Egypt, in Alexandria and all that, right? And so you had syncretism big time that was going on, including the Bible. Okay, including the Bible. So these people, these great writers and stuff like that, they were borrowing from each other and all that stuff. And that's why you find all of these influences like the Epic of Gilgamesh. You find Dionysus, you find Bacchus, you find all these other influences that were going around. Plato, there's talk even Plato may have even contributed to some of the content in the Bible. There's all kinds of stuff that was going on. So yes, Christianity may have started, in Judea and all of that, but what we know today, it started in Egypt, which is in Africa, right? But does that make Christianity an African-based religion? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And so you got the other people that's out here, and there's a massive amount of people that will say, well, that's why I don't read that. That's why I read the Ethiopian Bible, because the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest and most complete. No, it's not. It is not. Look at the dates. It is not. The Septuagint came centuries before the Ethiopian Bible. And the Ethiopian Bible, what the Ethiopians did, they expanded, they added more of their stories to it, like some of these other extra books and stuff like that. They did that. That's coming from their own stories, and they threw all of that in there. But if you want the original, you need to go to the Septuagint. If you want to get to as original as you can. But here's the other thing. The Septuagint was written in Greek. So if you're going to tell me that this was actually an African religion, then why would you write why would the most holy book of this African religion be written in Greek? Last I checked, there was no Greek speakers outside of Egypt. If I went to the Kingdom of Congo, I would not find people speaking in Greek. You understand what I'm saying? Or West Africa, there was nobody speaking Greek. That book was designed for everyone but us. But try telling this to Hebrew Israelites. They would never, they don't want to hear that. No, it's our ancestors. They wrote it for us. You didn't speak Greek. Okay, these were Hellenized Jews that did this, and they were writing it for Jews that were Greek speakers who lived in Greece and all in that region. That's why they wrote this thing. And then he took it and they expanded it all over the rest of the world. So, yeah, so again, with Candace Owens with, her Gilgamesh discovery, I said, just keep going, sis. Just keep going, keep digging. But you're going to have to start being honest with your belief system as well. Because Candace Owens, she's, says she's a Catholic, that's her choice or whatever, and she's going hard, really going hard after these practitioners of Judaism. Well, she made a distinction on that. She said, Judaism is fine. It's Zionism. It's like, again, you're trying to separate what can't be separated. And so she's, but yeah, that's true. You got people that do some weird things and evil things like that, but do you really want to have a conversation about the Catholic Church? The Rome Church and what they're engaged in and the demonic stuff that they're engaged in. One of the largest collections of Egyptian artifacts. Guess where you find it? In the Vatican. Now that's strange, isn't it? Because the Bible makes it very clear that, touch not, handle not the unclean thing, right? There's examples in the Bible where, if someone even had an idol, they would just you even touched an idol, God would zap you. But yet, one of the largest collections of Egyptian artifacts you'll find in the Vatican. You can go on here on YouTube. You can find a video. This is Catholicism. Why would you need mummies? Why would you need these gods and scrolls? Why would you need all of that stuff if your belief system wasn't built on it? And yes, the Catholic Church did give you the Bible. The Catholic Church also authored what is known as the Gigas. I can't remember the name of it. It's the Gigas something. It's Codex Gigas. That's what it is. The Codex Gigas. You know what the nickname of the Codex Gigas is? The Devil's Bible. The Bible itself is known as the largest Bible in the world. It's a huge Bible. I mean, it's about as tall as a wall. I mean, it's huge. And if you open it up near the back, it has a big image of Satan in the back. This is the Catholic Church. And then they have in the back of this, the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, they have all of these spells and incantations. This is the Catholic Church. So if you want to have a conversation about, okay, we could talk about Judaism and Zionism and all that other stuff and, and Gilgamesh and all of that. But my encouragement for people is keep digging, because as you're going to keep digging, you're going to find that a lot of this stuff you've been standing on, even that has to be questioned. You can't separate it. I was going back and forth with a person today in our comments. One thing I'll say this, and I'll leave y'all alone. I said, one of the things I told this guy, I said, one thing about Christians, or just people in religion, period, they will find anything in all ways to try to run away from their own shadow. And what I mean by that is that there are no, I said there are no absolutes in Christianity. They're not. You may say it is, but it really isn't. Let me give you some examples. Like, for example, the Bible may say something. It may say something very definitive and say, you can't do this, that, or whatever, right? But then you have somebody that will come along and say, a Christian, and say, well, that is not my interpretation of that scripture. This happens all the time in Christianity, isn't it? That's not my interpretation. You have a wrong interpretation of that scripture. That's one example. Another example would be, well, I know that's what the Bible says, but see, because I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, I actually got a revelation. I had a dream, I had a vision that really gave me a deeper understanding of this scripture. So even though the scripture may say this, I actually feel like I have some liberty to do that because of this revelation that I have. And they will find literally any way at all to try to escape their own shadow and stuff. And, I was talking to this one guy, he's African. This African dude, he was trying so hard to separate Christianity from the colonialists. He was trying to separate it. He was like, well, he said the colonialists, the colonists, they just misinterpret the scripture. Those are bad examples. And so I came back to him. I said, well, the Bible says you will know them by their fruit. Does it not say that? Yes, it does. It says you will know them by their fruit. I said, so one of the things that Christians will boast about are the amount of churches that are in Africa, right? Oh, these churches are growing and booming up every day. But those churches only came there because they are the fruit of the very colonists that you say got it wrong. Are you following me? Are you tracking me? So you can't on one hand say that they got it wrong, they had a bad interpretation of it. You can't measure Christianity by what they did. They were evil and all this other stuff, right? But then celebrate the fruit of all of these churches that are popping up all over the place. You can't do both. You can't have both. You can't have it both ways. And then I went even further and he talked about this dude. He was trying so hard. He was literally trying so hard. He even went far and tried to say that, because I told him, I said, bro, I talked about the meme thing that I created on our community page. I showed you about how, where is it? I'll just bring it up real quick here. It's right here. This is something I put on our page, our community page here. It's right here. Okay, here it is. Here it is. It's right here. I promise I'm almost done here. It's the community page right here. Going to post on a YouTube page here. So this is what I put here. I said, I find it interesting that the same people who characterize Africans as cannibals sold us a message of hope that requires you to accept a human sacrifice, practice drinking blood and eating flesh, and asking for blood to cover you for protection. I said, it took me a long time to wake up, but I woke up. Now, many of us grew up watching these kind of cartoons, right? Where they always, the cartoon character, they'll end up in Africa somewhere, and it's always like they crash landed there. It's never like they just willingly went there. They always like ended up there. And then, of course, all the Africans, all they want to do is get the white women and cook the men. That's all they want to do, right? And so they would mock us for that. They would always say that, oh, you go to Africa, this is what, they gonna eat you. That's what they do and all of that, right? But in the meantime, they want to sell you hope by clinging on to a literal human sacrifice and then practicing drinking blood and eating flesh, right? You're practicing that. And then I talked about the cross, right? And I was just saying how, yeah, that's a human sacrifice. And he was trying to say, well, you're pointing to metaphors. I was like, no, that's in Christianity. That's not a metaphor. It really did happen according to Christianity. It really did happen. That is not a metaphor. And he was trying to say, well, the cross, listen to this now. He was trying to say, well, the cross isn't a Christian symbol. It's actually a Roman symbol that was used to persecute Christians or something. It was some mess like that. I was like, dude, have you not ever been in a church? How many churches have you been to? They got crosses all over the place. How many Bibles have you picked up? They got crosses all in there. How many times did even Paul or Peter talk about, the preaching of the cross and all of this other stuff? The cross is central to Christianity. You can't, and that's what I'm saying. These people would do anything to try to outrun their own shadow. And where that comes from is this. That's why I said most times you will not win an argument against a Christian. Because why? The Bible talks about how the Bible is absolutely perfect. All scripture is God-breathed and useful for teaching and instruction and training in righteousness and all of that. There are no mistakes in the Bible whatsoever. That is the first thing that's drilled into you. So when that is drilled into you, you are a person that will never question it. And you're going to always make some type of excuse to kind of like to cover stuff, even if it's a clear contradiction. So, yeah, there are many people like Candace Owens and many others that are thankfully, they are beginning to lift the lid on these things and start realizing some things. But what I'm saying is, I am just warning you that as you continue to go down this path, even the very ground that you're standing on, it's going to shake. And you're going to find yourself falling too. But don't worry, if you're really about truth, you're going to be just fine. You are. It takes a moment. Trust me. Sometimes it takes 2 moments or 3 or even longer than that, but you're going to be fine. Okay. But yeah, this is, this is their matrix. They designed it. The matrix gave you a little book. They said, okay, follow this book. That's it. All right. So anyway, I got another video I'm working on right now. Getting back into what we was talking about, consciousness and all that. So, be on the lookout for that. And I think that is it. That's all I have for you guys. We covered quite a bit. I told you we had a full broadcast today. I'm sure there's some other things too we could talk about and all of that, but we gonna just wrap it up, y'all. I'm just gonna sit up here and say thank you. I really appreciate you guys being here with us this wonderful evening of February the 4th, 2026. Really appreciate you guys being here, and thank you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap this up, and thank you so much. You guys take care, and we will see you again soon. Take care now.
Yeah. This one's for every queen who thought a crown was too heavy to wear. But baby, that crown was built for light.
You twist, you turn, you tuck, you side. Mirror talking, why can't it just lie? But I see galaxies in every curl. A sacred pattern, baby, that built the world. They said too coarse, I said too divine. High quality always takes time. Girl, your roots run deep as history. That's more than beauty, that's ancestry. You may think your hair's a curse, but I see it as a blessing. You've been stressing with that pressing, but your essence, baby, that's the lesson. Let your crown glow, let it breathe, let it show. Crowns aren't meant to be covered, no. I don't care what the others think, we just wanna see you happy. I'm happy, cause that's how I know it's true.